Do you like the game Portal?
Have you ever wanted to colonize the moon?
And terraform it? Then you might like this game. It's called Relicta.
Relicta.
And this is a puzzler in very nice environment.
First-person puzzler, reminds people of Portal, of course, Cube
that we got for free from Epic.
The Talos Principle, The Witness. Also, it's in that category. Yeah.
But what's the story?
Well, the story, you are a scientist on the moon that has been terraformed, as you see very, very nicely. And things start going wrong with your equipment. But fortunately, you have some magic gloves, science gloves, that allow you to manipulate these cubes that are everywhere to solve the problems. The story is not very clear, and we'll talk more about that in a second.
And but the very clear is graphic because it's on Unreal Engine, so you can expect very beautiful scenery because you're on this planet that is terraforming, so you're gonna see very different jungle, snow, desert, very different nice environment.
And while you're in those environments, you're basically doing one thing, and that is solving puzzles with cubes, as you see behind us. With your magic science gloves, you can turn the gravity on and off of those cubes, and also magnets.
Yes.
You can change the polarity, and that if they have the same polarity, they will attract, and different polarities, of course, they will then bounce off each other. And you can use this to move them around and solve the puzzles.
But this game is not only about solving puzzles. There is the story that seems to be important because there will be half of the game solving puzzles and another half of the game going into the space station where all the scientists should be, but there's actually no one there. You can only hear them speaking through the comms. And in this second part, you're only walking, not solving any puzzles.
Yeah. So I would say the feeling is very different in these two areas. I wish that at the home base they had actually had some puzzles there, because you just end up wandering around the corners. Or people or anything, because we're there for the puzzles. This is the strength of the game, and it really seems to be broken up by these times in the home base. That's getting to pros and cons, which is a bit of a spoiler. But
because of that, it takes 13 hours to complete this game. Of course, it depends a lot on the puzzles, if you're going to solve them or not, because I would say they're not changing as much through the game. The mechanisms are very clear, from the first hour. It doesn't change so much, but it gets more and more complex, as you would expect.
As puzzle games are supposed to. So that can bring us to the main question, should you play it? But first, you should know that this game is free for 1 week from the Epic Game Store. If you claim it, add it to your library, you keep it forever. That is the week of January 20th, 2022. So if you catch it in time, you get to add it to your library and keep it forever. But is it worth your time? Just because it's free doesn't mean it's worth your time.
Definitely.
What are you thinking?
I think this game is very pretty, and this is a very good example of pretty game doesn't always mean it's a great game. I wouldn't say this is a bad game, but if you're going to compare it to something like Portal, I'm missing something extra, like the Portal thing, because the puzzles are getting only more difficult, but not so much more interesting, for me at least. And the parts that you are on the home base basically is slowing down the pace. I mean, it was nice idea because it was not only to solve puzzles, but to have something interesting. But the interesting is missing there, and because of that, I think this game is okay if you are into puzzler games, and if you like Cube 2 that we got for free from Epic, you should try it. But I don't think this game is so special. I would rather go for Portal 1 again,
or Cube
2, than play this. So because of that, I'm saying no.
I think on two categories. There's the story, and for a lot of puzzle games, it's the story that pulls me through. Even something like The Witness that has no story, there's still...
There's
you
a
feel like there's...
mystery,
Yeah, exactly. And it pulls you through. This, like, the story didn't make a lot of sense, and also the writing is really weird. I felt like it was badly translated, like that it was written not in English, because the vocabulary they use, both like a lot of vulgar words and a lot of slang, it just doesn't fit, and it feels awkward often. So the story is not going to pull you through this game. So, but if you're a big fan of puzzlers, the idea for these boxes and being able to turn the gravity on and off, and it's a very interesting idea. But there's a problem there as well. I would say it gets pretty repetitive after a few hours. The key to a good puzzle game is that it keeps innovating, that you learn some new trick, and then it forces you to learn a new trick and a new trick and a new trick. And this, it starts to feel repetitive, and I think that's because a lot of the mechanics, all of the mechanics actually, are in the first half hour of the game. Everything that you can do with the puzzles, you learn in the first half hour of the game. And a good puzzle game, I think, introduces new mechanics step by step through the first half of the game, and you think you've mastered it, and then it's like, oh, this changes things a little bit. This is a new element. So the speed at which you have to face the puzzles, I think it's too much, too fast, and then the second half of the game just becomes kind of boring. So I will agree with you, Mikhail. It's not a bad game. It's a decent puzzle. If you love puzzle games, give it a shot. Why not? But in general, no, I don't think that this is worth your time compared to some of the other great first-person puzzle games out there.
And this is quite pity, because this is a game that looks good and that some people will go and say, looking at the gameplay, this is a great game, I'm going to try it. Then they are a bit disappointed, perhaps, and say, all the Epic free games are bad, but it's quite the opposite sometimes. These games that doesn't look so good on Epic, you try them and you love them. I would like rather to play a game that I like on the gameplay than on the visual, which is this case.
Right. And that's why you should stay with us, because we will let you know about every free game from the Epic Games Store if it is worth your time. So stay with us, and we will see you in our next video.
See you.
Bye.
Okay, so let's see. We can do this experiment, right? Like in the game. Let's do it. It doesn't work. There was the gloves. So let's try it with the gloves. And let's focus, really focus. Okay, a little bit to the right. A little bit to the right. Yes, it's working. And now let's try to put it away. And woo, cool. It's actually working. That's cool. Maybe you should try it as well.